right, boys. We're back at the end of the 100. I got my clothes on, so I'm slightly more recovered than you guys. Firstly, who am I speaking to here?
Daniel Quinn, and I've got my clothes on too.
Bike clothes, yes.
Lewis Greenhalgh.
Paul Gerloff.
And guys, that was a hell of a day. How'd you guys get through?
I didn't really. I sort of just grovelled the last 15 Ks and staggered to the end.
What were the favourite bits?
Oh, definitely the middle loop. I love that flow and and I was feeling good then, so that was good.
How about you?
Well, this is my first Otway Odyssey, and I think I was completely hoodwinked because everyone said it was 2,000 metres of climbing and less than 100 Ks, and it was just one that kept on going and going. But yeah, it's just one of those races where you absolutely cook yourself. You just get in the box and get on with it. Yeah, look, I've got to say, like, the last 20 Ks was absolutely brutal, but it was probably the most rewarding bit, to be honest. Because if we would have finished at 75, I don't think I would have dug as deep, but I can certainly walk away thinking that I gave it every little ounce of energy and determination I got in my body. I couldn't have given it any more. So I'm, pretty happy with that effort.
What about the vibe out there with all the other riders and being back here at the sort of village? It's pretty cool, these little events, aren't they?
Classic support from everywhere. It's a bloody great time. And you feel it, but do it again. Maybe not tomorrow, though.
Well, you were just listening to a little snippet of the episode that I did last week when I took the microphone with me on the Otway Odyssey and I recorded some of the snippets along the way of this amazing adventure. A 100k mountain bike race, a 100k gravel race, the new world that I'm in. I'm falling in love with cycling again. I've almost come full circle. I'm back in Australia and I'm racing these local events. Okay, I wasn't doing mountain bike or gravel racing when I grew up, but it's still the same people. It's still the same feel. I'm packing my car, I'm driving out to these events, and I'm meeting the locals, the people who have fallen in love with cycling the same way that I did when I started. I'm really loving it, and I'm loving the connection with our major sponsor, Rapha. That's what their ethos is. They're trying to get cycling to be the most popular sport in the world, trying to get people to fall in love with cycling, riding bikes, everything involved with cycling, racing, bunch culture, kit, of course. That's what I love about Rapha, and that's what I love about what I'm doing this year as well on the bike. It's been fantastic, and listen to that episode, you'll understand it. The people I talk to, they're not professionals, they're people just loving riding a bike. This week on Talking Luft, I've got the winner of the Otway Odyssey, someone who has fallen in love with cycling and continually loves racing and riding his bike, Brendan Johnston. He's from Canberra, he's an amazing rider, Australia's most successful mountain bike marathon rider. He's won everything in Australia in the marathon, whether it's 1 or 2 times or 3 or 4. He's won everything. But he crosses across to the road as well, and he's awesome on the road. He's won the iconic Melbourne-Warnambool. He's placed in the Australian National Championships against the professionals who race overseas. Plus he's winning criteriums. Plus he's got his own business. He's a full-time electrician. He's got his own family. He dabbles in a little bit of motorsport as well. He does everything. He squeezes cycling in, and he's one of the top performers. The best part about Trekky is he's just a down-to-earth, really great guy. I got him for Talking Luft. I got a bit of a backstory because he's got a really interesting story not that many people know about. So sit back and enjoy this one. This is a fantastic Talking Luft with a really great guy. We're here with Talking Luft. I'm sitting down with none other than Brendan Johnston. He is also known as Trekky, legend in the mountain bike scene in Australia, more specifically the marathon mountain bike scene, but also on the road. A bit of a weapon, actually. I got to meet you probably about, what do you reckon that is, about six or 7 years ago now.
Would be, yep.
Welcome to the pod, mate, first of all.
Oh, it's an honour, Mitch. Obviously followed you along, and then in your racing, and then like the pod's obviously got really momentum lately, and there's some much greater hitters than myself prior to me. So it's exciting, and a little bit intimidated.
Mate, don't sell yourself short, because we were down at the Otways just the other week, and you were nice enough to have a chat to me because you were the man to watch there. And I sort of loved the flip of positions there for a moment. Like, a couple of years, you've sort of given me a little heads up. Hey, mate, got the Nationals coming up. Any advice, coming to the Nationals? Because supposedly I might know what would happen there, with all my experience. But I liked it. We got down to the Otways and I was like, mate, what do you think? What's going to happen today? Like, help me out. I'm feeling nervous. It was quite cool.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like I don't know. I think there's heaps of people you could talk to pre-Road Nationals, which is like the main road event I do each year. And I think like someone like yourself who has like a really kind of cool take on it. And I think, I just appreciate, the chat even as well as the advice. So for sure, it's paid off each year. And this year, definitely so. And then it was like I was saying to you down at Otway, it's so cool to have someone like yourself on the start line with all us kind of domestic guys and just right out of your depth. Just not afraid to take it on. So I think that's shows your character. I think a lot of ex-pros and that probably they wash their hands of it and leave it at that, but like to dip into other disciplines and challenge yourself that way, even if you're fit than you were, it's like, that's pretty commendable.
Mate, I really did bite off more than I can chew down there. I tell you what, you guys were very kind to me up the first climb, allowed me to hang on there, but after that it was all racing, and I paid for it. I duly paid for it. That was seriously hard. But we talk about that in the podcast last week. Let's get on to you now. I want you to just give us a little bit of a background about you, because before we go into Talking Luft, I want to talk about your story a little bit, because it's a really interesting story. I want you to tell me something that I don't actually know, and I couldn't really find out too much about it. Tell me a little bit about your very, very beginning of cycling, how you got into it, and was it all about mountain biking for you? Because I did see that you went to the Junior Worlds mountain biking, or was it about road racing? And what was your aspirations when you started cycling? You're like, I want to be like the Tour de France, because typically the people I have on this podcast, that's all it's sort of, the pinnacle. In Australia, we look at the Tour or we look at European racing. But for you, was it the same or was it something different?
Yeah, for me, I think, I started off obviously following my dad around on the bike, and just doing road cycling is probably a lot of people have. And then we got into some mountain bike, and it was sort of a mix of the two, like kind of endurance. Like my dad was into Ironman and stuff, so I kind of had an appreciation for endurance sport. And then I found that mountain bike was like, just such a good mix of that sort of fitness element and like endurance, as well as skills and fun. So pretty soon after doing handicaps and that sort of stuff on the road, jumping onto some mountain bike racing, and then kind of heavily into like cross country mountain bike, which is like, your hour and a half, like Olympic format, but as a, sort of 13 or 14-year-old, and right through to, like Junior Worlds and then some other world championships and stuff. So for me, it was like, we watched the Tour a lot and like stayed up late, all that. And that was so cool. But like, I just found this passion for mountain bike, and that kind of took me on that journey. And heavily in sort of cross country.
Well, you got to tell me about 2009, a big year for you. I think you're about 17 years old, and the ball had started rolling for you in cycling, and you were diagnosed with testicular cancer. And I know you've spoken about this quite a lot. I just think it's very uncommon at that age, and I think we're all aware of the big name Lance Armstrong, testicular cancer and cycling. Tell me a little bit about this for you, and first of all, that moment. Let's just focus on that moment when you were 17, when you got that diagnosis, what that was for you, that feeling and that moment in that sort of period for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was dramatic, let's say. Final year at high school, but to be honest, I was like just focused on riding my bike, and like get into we had a home world championships in 2009 in Stromlo, literally less than a kilometre from where I'm sitting now, and that was just such a huge thing. And like things were going well, like as you know, good sort of Australian season, and then we went and did some World Cups and stuff, and it was a really good trip. But just like prior to that trip, I'd kind of found this lump, and so at the time it was like, you know, this is probably a period of 3 months or something that I'd found it till the time I actually got it checked out. So I did this whole trip of World Cup and ran racing and stuff, and it was all, to me, everything was fine and like going well, and we were building to this home world champs. Like we had a couple of weeks at AIS and stuff, and you know, it was really going well. And I think even you know, I was probably ranked like out of our team of 6 riders or whatever national team, I was probably you know, the number one ranked for the race. So you get like the frontline start and everything. So it was kind of all building up, and it was looking really good. And at that point in your life, you're like, you know, a little lump is not something you worry about or like even sort of, care about, I guess. But anyway, we went on this trip, and then I got back and I was like, oh, I should get this checked out. So fortunately, our doctor is like, he's retired now, but a really good family friend of ours, and he did some cycling as well. So we were just out on a ride one day, and I mentioned it to him, and he said, look, come in Savo or whatever it was. And God, like from pretty much that chat, within a couple of days, I'd had like ultrasound and a specialist appointment, and then the next day was to Sydney for like big surgery. So this is probably about a month out from this Canberra World Championships.
And it's just like, for me, I can imagine the exact situation. You're just like, well, it's not going to be anything too bad. It might go away, or I don't know, I'm a bit embarrassed about asking someone. And like you said, thank God you had that family doctor, someone you could just talk to in a really comfortable environment out on the bike. And I can almost assume, and maybe I'm wrong, that he would have probably downplayed it as well. Oh, come in, we'll just check it out, you know. And just to be thrown that curveball, then like, oh, it's actually something really serious.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's like, you know, cycling has been so present in all my whole life. And even at that moment, it's like, it kind of brought me close to this person who I could talk about such a, it's kind of sensitive issue with. So, it's like, it was quite good that relationship was there. And then otherwise, you know, who knows how much longer I would have put it off. And then, that kind of moment, he did downplay it, but he was keen to get it looked at further. And it literally was so quick, you know, like I was living on the south coast of New South Wales at that point, and then the next day we're in Canberra, and then the next day we're in Sydney, and it was like just a full whirlwind, you know, like something you don't expect, and I don't think you have the kind of, you know, courage to deal with at that age, at least.
And tell me about then, because you're still able to ride the Worlds. How were you able to spin that?
Well, I had this surgery, and it was epic. Like, had obviously the lump stuff removed, but they go then for like the lymph nodes and glands, which are actually like behind your stomach. So it was like a super surgery. Like I was like couldn't. You know, you get out of bed for like a week because your stomach muscles are like quite compromised, and that's kind of surgery. Even though the specialist at the time kind of got linked into the cycling story and stuff, and he wrote a bit himself, and the surgeon and that. So they, you know, there's a few different ways they can do it. They can like cut through the muscles or like leave them intact, and it's a bit better for like your strength and recovery. So they managed to do that, and then like as I kind of started recovering from it, I was able to like do a bit of a spin on the bike or whatever, and it ended up that like in that next 2 or 3 weeks I could still pedal the bike fine and like got better and better. But I do remember like in the accommodation before the race, I was like in the shower and like had these kind of bad wounds, and I remember like one of them came open or something, and I saw it, and I just hit, because I'm not good with blood, I just hit the deck in the accommodation. This is like days before the race. I'm in the shower on the floor because I've passed out from the grossness of this this surgery wound. So it was still quite fresh, but it was just a shame because, you know, it was tracking well, and to be honest, that's such a key point in making something of yourself at that age, I think, especially in cross-country mountain bike. Like, you don't get opportunities to race from the front row very often, and like I think I had one there, and I was in good shape. It was a home track, like I liked the track, and it was just sort of a bit sort of gut wrenching to have, obviously I wasn't moving so well for the race, but to be honest, it was still an epic experience because there was a lot of stuff around like the story or whatever, and there was just so much local support, and a lot of friends sort of came with me on that ride, and like we just had my back, and it was really special in that way. But obviously a shame to lose the shape and the condition.
It sounds like it was just exactly what you needed in such a dark moment. To have that pulled away from you as well would be just like, I'm trying to deal with this as well, and to lose that, like you said, I'm in the shape, I'm on the front line, I'm maybe never going to get this opportunity again. I need this, give this to me at least. And from what I understand too, 10 years on was hashtag 10 years on. Was that the correct hashtag?
That's the one.
Yeah. Was something really special. I've just learned about this, that with cancer, with testicular cancer especially, or with all cancers, I think it's, like you explained, it's never gone. They can never give you the green light. You're good to go for the rest of your life. It's something you got to continually monitor, continually make sure it's dormant or, not popping up again. And 10 years on was a real pinnacle point because you had no signs of any cancer still. This was in 2019. And what I saw from this, from what I could see and read, was it has given you this strength. I've overcome this. I've been able to overcome this and I'm back to my best. It's sort of given you this extra strength that maybe you wouldn't have had, or it's taken you in a different direction that, of course, you wouldn't have gone in this direction. Tell me a little bit about what actually having that testicular cancer and overcoming it, what has it done for you, not only in those first 10 years, but right up until now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, being so young, it was just daunting initially, and something that, I don't know, that I was fully equipped to deal with. But like I said, I had good people around me and good support, so that really helped. But like, I guess like it's sort of like taken me a different way for sure. I think, at the time I was so destined just to be a bike rider, and that was all I wanted. All I was thinking about, like at school, that the final year at school, people were going to schoolies, I was going to races or training, and I'd take half the day off to go training, and that sort of thing. So it was my main sort of drive at that point. Kept me out of a lot of trouble probably, so it's a good thing, I think. But so then to kind of just be thrown a big curveball, and like you don't instantly get over it. It's like I had 12 months of chemotherapy with like some epic complications. Like I got airlifted from home to the hospital once. Like just a really rough year, to be honest. And then like you finish your chemotherapy treatment, and then it's like months before you can kind of get back to a bit of normality. I had sort of a year or two off after that, just like kicking around, and then I just like
something missing.
Yeah, a bit like that. But it was also that I just saw that my fitness and like ability to race a bike was just taken like that. So in my mind, I'm thinking like maybe I can't just do that, because your health is like, if you're just going to rely on that, like it's a risk, right? Like your health is not to be taken for granted. I think you can lose full health and ability to compete at a high level in literally a couple of days. So yeah, for me it was a bit more of a life lesson, I guess, and then it probably steered me off like the professional career that maybe I thought I wanted. And I did an apprenticeship and did the hard yards and went down that track and sort of kept the cycling going in the background. But for me it was a matter of like banking something else in my life that I could rely on other than cycling, which was going to require my full health. And I wasn't sure that I was always going to have that, especially after an initial cancer. Like second cancer is like not out of the question for sure, and even more so. So I mean it's probably a little more kind of sensible than like going like bugger it, let's just go all in and go crazy. It was more of like a a sensible lesson learned, I guess.
Well, tell me about a couple of things there. And just before we get to Talking Luft, I want to ask you a couple more little questions, because something that I really admire about you is your mentality and what you're able to do with yourself. And something I'm actually starting to understand now is your use of time, and being able to, you've got a full-time job, you've got your own electrical business, that you're sitting in the office talking to me right now as you're doing a paperwork day, and then you got to get out on the tools tomorrow. Plus you squeeze in training. I had a quick look at your Strava just to understand when you actually go out. And I was like, when does Trekky train? You train just as much as I train when I'm a pro. But you squeeze it in between afterwards, somewhere around the bend, and you've got a young child as well. You've got a growing family. You're into go-karts, mate. You do everything. So the question I have for you is, we spoke about going overseas a couple of years ago. Maybe there was going to be an opportunity to go over and pursue this elusive dream that you spoke about. Is that something that you've really weighed up in your mind again when we were having this conversation, when this opportunity might have happened? Did you weigh that up and go, hang on, maybe one of my best assets is that I balance everything, and cycling is my release, and that's actually what's making me so good. If I go to this mentality of laying in bed, getting ready for the next race, it sounds all glamorous, but it is a different lifestyle. Like you said, it all is required about that performance. Tell me about that sort of thought process when you were thinking about, wow, maybe I should go across and pursue that dream.
Yeah, for sure. I know. I was really appreciative of your kind of words around when we're having those discussions. Like, I just wanted to reach out to a few people that I thought were, well in the knowledge in the pro tour scene, and just see what it's about a bit, I guess. But for me, like, I don't know, I feel like that's part of it, that I've done a lot in cycling, all different disciplines and races and events. But if I was to say there's something missing, that I've never ridden in the pro peloton, and obviously you have to be good enough to do that, and you also have to be young enough. So I think while that boat kind of sailed for me a bit, it was always kind of in the back of my mind that that's something that I probably missed out on, or maybe just wasn't good enough. But I think just balancing here, as I do, it is a release for sure. And the more I think about it, I'm like, oh God, like another year of trying to jam everything in. Like, is it worth it? Like, what am I getting out of it? Like, what toll is it taking on me or my family? And each year we come around, it's contract time, and I talk with Giant, and it's the same discussion we have, and it's like, I think I just need to do it again, because I just love that release of training, and like, even though some mornings it's so shit, it's like, it's so cold up here in Canberra, and like, it's just like grim mornings, like wake up 4:30 or whatever. Just the sort of joy and like release I get from having a result, and like all that work paying off, not just the training, but like you say, like the balancing the time, and like that toll that's taking on everything and everyone around me is like it kind of makes it worth it. So I don't know, but this is all choices that I've made myself. So the life of like a pro is really desirable for me, but I chose this path, I guess, and it's just sort of where I've ended up. And like if I can train well and like get some solid results now, then I mean, it's really good.
Mate, well, I think, look, I honestly, and not knowing you super well, but knowing you well enough, I think it's made you this beautiful person that you are, and I'm not having a go at anyone that's in the World Tour, but all these elements, everything that's happened in our lives, it shapes us who we are, and you make these decisions. And like you said, we've always got these elusive dreams, and the grass is greener on the other side. But I think a lot of people look up to what you have done and what you are doing as a rider, I noticed it, especially being in your scene finally. Most of the time you're coming, let's say, into my scene, and now I came into your scene, and everyone is looking up to Trekky. Oh, what's he doing? Is he going to win today? How much is he going to beat us by? And everyone takes it for granted that you're just going to cruise around and win the race. But we look at the work that goes into that. That's what I was trying to get to. But Let's get into talking Luft. Let's have a little bit of fun now. Now, I've rejigged the questions a little bit this week. Only a tiny bit, because I don't know too much about mountain biking, but I thought we should better put a few little things in for you. But the way it works, for anyone who hasn't listened, and maybe a few Trekky, we've got 4 topics: style, bikes, culture, and about you, with some questions underneath. You ready?
Ready to go. Done my research. Let's get into it.
Perfect. All right. Well, let's start with caps, casquettes, capellinos. I don't know what you call them in mountain biking. Don't exist. So, how do you wear yours, mate? When you've got a cap on, when you're cruising around the coffee shop, or maybe you wear them when you're being a sparky. What's your style? You got it forwards, you got it backwards, brim up, brim down.
I mean, the only time I really wear one is for function. So on a wet day, forwards, peak up. Pure function. I feel like, yeah, just for the rain.
Perfect, mate.
I don't know if I don't have hair flapping out the back, so it doesn't look as cool.
Mate, that's fine. No, that's good. You don't have to have the mullet. You know, everyone wants to have a mullet, but if you can't get one, you can't get one. Tell me, when you was back in the day, and you would have seen this footage too. I'm in the same book as you. I never got to race without a helmet. What would your style have been without a helmet? You know, what was the style in the mountain biking scene pre-helmets? Was there pre-helmet mountain bike racing?
There was, but that's like a fair bit earlier than the road, I would say. Like, I think us mountain bikers, we were wise to head injuries maybe, a few years before the road. But if for me, if I was in that era and on the road, it'd be just hair out. I think
out.
I think my hair's a bit of an asset, so I'd be showing it off, bit of volume.
I love it. Yeah, I love the confidence too. Very good. Tell me now, helmet. Let's talk mountain biking now. Helmet with a peak or without?
Without, I think. There was a period where peak helmets were really cool for cross country. Obviously, enduro, which you're probably learning these terms. Enduro peak is a big thing at the moment. Obviously.
Why? What's the benefit of a peak?
Oh, you just look sick. Like. And don't worry, I've got all the outfits. I can be enduro, I can be gravel, I can be cross country. Yeah, so I've got it all there. But for me, it's no peak for cross country or marathon. It's just pretty much a road helmet.
Okay. Bar ends or no bar ends?
I did use bar ends for a while. Again, that was like a period of time. Jose Antonio Hermida Ramos, he was big on the bar end. So Julian Absalon. Couple of names who used to rock the bar ends, they'd get the rock on. That was a cool time for it, but it doesn't happen anymore. Mountain biking has gone a lot more like like function focused for skills rather than like it's definitely heading towards like larger fork and shock, like larger suspension, like the trails are getting harder and you need a more capable bike, and the ability to be able to like pedal it in a comfortable position or like rip it up a hill is like not such a focus anymore.
What about, could you bring the bar ends back? How do you reckon that would go down if you just rolled up one day? So, you know what, boys, bar ends are back. I'm bringing them back. I reckon people would probably follow you.
I'm not sure they would. I don't. Yeah, like could you imagine doing the Otway with bar ends? Like the arms get hooked on enough stuff. It is like it'd be suicide.
You'd have to cut your bars shorter, so they could fit on, and then they would be handy going up some of those fire road climbs. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know if they were ever that much of a benefit, to be honest. You know, some people used to put them inside the grips and use them as like aero bars. So like in a long stage race or something,
like crocodile trophy or something.
Yeah, if you find some footage from that, you'd be you'd see them in the middle of the bars and it's like your aero bars.
All right, let's move to bikes. And you're a man of many bikes. RMG, road bike, mountain bike, or gravel bike? One bike forever.
I think like it's, for me, the road bike is where I ride with a lot of my friends, like on the regular, like, 4 or 5 times a week. And the social part of it is because like I'm generally pretty busy. It's like a really good way to socialize and like early in the mornings, you know, like it's dark, so you're not going to head out on the mountain bike. It's like easy to jump on the roadie and ride with some friends and stop at the cafe if you've got time. So I think for me, like I get a lot from cycling that's like with friends and the road bike allows that pretty easily.
All right, well then, one mountain bike forever, CX, trail, or is it enduro or DH? Is it CX or is it XC? Sorry, XC, isn't it?
Well, XC, and then obviously there's gravel, which is like
CX.
It's similar to CX. Let's not split hairs.
XC is cross country.
Cross country.
Trail, enduro, or DH, downhill.
I've never really ridden a downhill bike. That's way too extreme. Probably a trail bike, to be honest, like forever, because you know it's fun to ride a trail bike with friends, and you can just go and like have fun and be safe on the downhills rather than but then like if you want to do a mountain ride, like a ride in the hills, which maybe I would less so when I'm older, I don't know.
Yeah. What about an enduro bike?
Yeah, enduro bike, trail bike, same thing.
Yeah, are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like a larger travel, so bigger suspension, slower uphills, heavier, but more fun downhill.
But can't you, like, I feel like on the cross country bike, dualies now, you can do a fair bit on them, or you just need that bit more suspension at the front.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, right.
Wait till you ride a trail bike.
Yeah, right. It's just easy.
I know what you're saying.
Coming off a road bike, it feels like crazy for me, but then that's like again when you're going to a trail bike, is it?
It is, because the position is different too. Like on the cross country bike, like the one you ride, it's like a race position. When you're on the trail bike, it's much more relaxed. You're sitting back. You're just cruising.
It's like a Harley. You're like on like a Gold
That's right.
Wing. Yeah, right.
That's right.
Yeah, right. Are you a social bunch rider or hour of power?
Well, our hour of power is, I would say, both of those. We rip it for an hour. It's I don't know. I haven't done bunches around the country, but I reckon it's one of the quickest and hardest.
I actually took this question from the Hour of Power from Canberra. I've actually heard about this bunch. Is it still called the Hour of Power?
There's the Hour of Power on Tuesday and the Hour of Terror on Friday. But yeah, Tuesday is like
the Hour of Terror.
It's antisocial for the hour, and then it's very social after.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I like to go but if I'm getting up at 4:30 and going training, I'm going to get something out of it. I'm not just going to fluff around.
Well, do you have a Strava account? I know that. I've already mentioned it. You do. And do you hunt comms?
I do. Only when they get taken from me, I would say.
Right.
Yeah. So when you get the email alert, if it's someone like I loosely know, or like if it's a full random, I usually just write it off as they must have been in a car or e-bike or something. But if it's someone I know, like Dan McConnell took a few off me the other week, and then the next day I went out and tried to take him back, and I didn't.
Does Dan McConnell live up there?
He lives probably 600 metres from my house. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Victorian. He's up there now.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, right. Favourite training loop of all time? You're going to have one of those loops. Everyone's going to know it. So just explain the loop. Someone up there in Canberra is going to know it. If it is in Canberra, it could not be. It could be the Otway loop. Who knows? Where is it?
It's not the Otway loop. The Otway loop is quite a challenge, I would say. There's a loop from here, like this is the kind of area, Stromlo. It's called the Cotter. It's like it's like 40k. You head out across one bridge, and then that's the Cotter, and then the other bridge is Uriara. It's like 40k, just a loop. Good in the winter, good in the mornings. Yeah, safe.
It's the old Canberra Tour loop. I do know
it. It is, yeah.
Believe it or not.
Yeah. Yep.
Junior Canberra Tour. I actually hated that loop.
Future conditions in the Canberra Tour.
When a rider comes towards you, are you a wave person? Are you just sort of like a simple nod gesture? What's your action?
I'm definitely a wave. I like to make an effort. My business partner actually is quite annoying to ride with. He's like a g'day, mate, to every single, like, doesn't matter who they are, every single, he says g'day, and it's almost to the point of annoying. But I think a solid wave is like nice to gesture.
What about in the mountain biking scene? Like, I know you're not going opposite ways. Is there a kind of different gesture in mountain biking? Like, just, because what are you doing? You're catching up to someone, or you may be seeing at the end of the trail. Is there a different feel on the trails?
I think it's more of like, if you're on the trails, like, and say you've caught up to someone, like, you're generally going to want to get past. So there's usually a conversation around that, I would say. And generally it's like super friendly, but sometimes, like, it depends if it's in a race or whatever. Sometimes people don't rate it.
What?
Depending on how.
Let me pass, that type of thing?
Yeah, like coming by, and like, because often, I guess, in a race, they're not appreciating the speed difference, so it can be like off-putting for them. But yeah, generally out on the trails, it's usually a very friendly exchange, I would say. Just g'day, mate, have a good ride, thanks for that. If I'm getting past, it's the same thing.
Can you remember a specific situation where you've tried to get past someone clearly faster than them and they've blocked you for quite a long time?
Oh, it happens all the time.
Oh, right. Right.
Yeah.
Too many.
It's I understand, because it's, maybe we've done 100 Ks in the time it's taken them to do, half of that or whatever. So it's like the big speed difference. And there's so many different, like, things happening in a mountain bike race, right? Some of us are like racing for the win and, like, semi-professional or whatever. And there's others who are just literally getting through the course. So it's so different to like a road event, or like, you've just got such different levels, and it's that's kind of the beauty of it, right? Like, and someone might come up to you afterwards and say, "Oh, mate, sorry out there," like, and you have a chat about it. So I think it's it's fun. We get through.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, you've had a lot of bikes in your time, a lot of different bikes, like I said before. What is your best bike of all time? That one bike where you go, you know what, I just love that thing. It might not be the fastest anymore, but I love that bike. Or could be the one right today.
I've had a lot of bikes. I wouldn't say I'm like, and like, if I had endless money, I probably wouldn't spend it on bikes, let's say. Probably some kind of engine-based equipment. But I do love my bikes, and I like something that's kind of special. So for that 10 years on that you said, Giant, kindly we painted up a Giant anthem, like the 29er anthem, in like Australian colours after the National Marathon Championship I won that year, and also had like that hashtag 10 years on all over it as well. So something like that is just so cool to me. We actually did 2 frames and Rapha one off for the benefit of the hospital here. So something like that just, it's cool to be able to have custom stuff, and that one, just meant a lot to me.
You've kept that one?
Yeah, it's in the shed, hanging up.
Do you ever ride that anymore? No.
No. I've got another one at the moment, which is pretty cool, which is probably, it's a Giant TCR, custom painted in some golf racing, old motorsport livery. It's pretty cool. I'll probably do some more into the future, I think.
Cool.
Custom kit.
All right, culture. Favourite race of all time? Could have been one you've done, could not be one you still want to do. I don't know. What's that favourite race that you just love? Everything about it.
There's an event in WA, Margaret River, called Cape to Cape. It's a 4-day mountain bike stage race, and it kicked off for probably 10 years ago. Over 10 years ago. A good friend of mine who passed away, James Williamson, he attended the first one, and they kind of formed this idea of having this race, and he helped them out. And then it just grew into this event, which, like I was saying, there were so many different levels of ability there, but at the front of the field, you always had the best guys from Oz sort of mountain bike scene there. And if you managed to win a stage, or like, there's good money up, and like there was just so much hype around this race. And it's also just an awesome place in the world. And if you got a win there and stage win, or you ended up winning the overall, like guys like Lockie Norris have won it, like Chris Hamilton's like done well there, and there's all sorts of names have gone there and done well, and like it's just a good vibe. There's all the guys and girls are on the beers after the stage. It's just like, it's not super hard, like it's not epic, which I think kind of adds to the fun of it. but yeah, I'd recommend that one.
Is it like the Tour Down Under of the mountain bike scene, the biggest Australian race, you think?
Yeah, in terms of I think they get over like 2,000 people kind of competing in it. And then at the front of the race, it's like all the good guys, like Dan McConnell's usually there, and like when he was in the height of his like World Cup career, he's coming back and still racing that, and it's big names, and you're mingling with like everyone after the stage, just really cool.
Cool. Your favourite rider of all time?
I mean, it's tough. I think through that kind of cancer period of mine, I looked at a lot of Lance's stuff. And I mean, that time I was probably like a rock solid believer. And then, it changed. But I actually met him at Tour Down Under in 2010, I think. Pat Yonker actually organised that, and that was so cool. I mean, he was definitely, for a long period of my earlier cycling days, who I really thought was like just a great athlete, and I guess inspirational.
Yeah, well, look, I guess say what you want. At that time, it really worked for you, and it was really positive, and afterwards, whatever. But at that moment, it helped you through, and it was something you could really aspire to. Yeah,
that's right, and it's probably the same for a lot of people. Like, if you just look at that period and what he did for the sport, and how many people that were looking at him as one of the best athletes in the world. For sure, hands down. At that time, he was the man.
What about right now? Who's your favourite rider right now?
I mean, I love. I don't know him, but I love him as an athlete and a rider. Tom Pidcock.
Oh, right.
I mean, his ability. I've raced World Cups before, and like in races, he's coming from 90th on the start into the top 5 and onto the podium. Like, I can't tell you how. So the Otway start, for instance, which we were both at the other week, like it's like you would be starting at the back of that, but with guys who are really good, like not just like a mix of guys, but all top 150 guys that are on the start line, and the track is not that wide for that long. It's wide for maybe a kilometre, fire road, and then it goes to single track. I just can't fathom how he's manages to do that, and then finish on the podium. Like, and then obviously, he's very good cyclocross road. I think we'll all probably be tuning in to watch him for the.
To put that in perspective, it's a combination, obviously physical ability, but his skill level has to be so good too, because he's not only able to just physically, we're not talking about, like you said, going up a big fire road and he's just a strong guy that rides around everyone. It's single track on these steep uphills that he might be able to get around 5 or 6 guys. Then on the downhills, he's still got to get around some more guys too, or just keep the same speed. His skill level is out of control, and he's just physically a freak as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, how is he able to ride the downhills in the traffic so much quicker than everyone else and passing people? Like, it just doesn't make sense. So yeah, I guess having been there and done that, and been flogged before, like just knowing how hard that is, like that, it's just incredible to see someone do that. Like, there is not many athletes, I don't think, because like you say, he's obviously far superior fitness wise and strength, but to be able to have those skills as well, like, that's crazy.
Tell me about your favourite kit of all time and team. And now it could be a combination of both. It could be, you know what, I loved US Postal, I love the whole roster, and I love that kit. Or you go, look, I love US Postal, the team, but I just hated that kit, and I actually loved Orica Green Edge kit, for an example. What is that for you?
So around that time of Lance, when he was kind of inspirational to me, I would say the Radio Shack team and kit. I reckon
nice.
They had some cool bikes. A lot of that, like, Lance's Live Strong stuff was kicking around, and like cool Nike stuff, and Nike getting into cycling is pretty cool, I reckon. And yeah, they had like that grey and red kit for a while. I reckon that was pretty cool.
Yeah, nice. And that's the Renegades now have taken that kit on the cricket team here in Australia. I'm wondering how they got away with that. They just sort of pretty much just poached the exact same kit, didn't they?
Yeah, the Radio Shack Renegades.
Yeah. Tell me, mate, you've got to have a million of these, but just try and give us a war story. One day where you're just like, oh, bloody Otways, like this Otway Odyssey, this thing is just so hard. What is your one war story from one day out there?
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, as you learn, as you do more of these like off-road events, I guess. So obviously, like Paris-Roubaix and stuff, you have epic days out. But yeah, there's just so much chance for things to go wrong in mountain biking. I remember we did the Crocodile Trophy up north. I got back from a long sort of trip to Europe doing World Cups and getting flogged. We were on the hunt for UCI points for potential Olympic selection. So we went up because the Croc Trophy had these UCI points to it. It was like quite well-ranked stage race. So anyway, we get back, and then pretty much we got back and then flew up to North Queensland to do this Croc Trophy. And it's like, off the bat, it's epic. Like, you're camping out. Like, no one really... there's only really the camping out way to do it. Like, you'll see these other races like Cape Epic and stuff. You get like a flash camper van, but the Croc Trophy is like pretty brutal. Yeah, it's rough. You sleep rough. Like, the food's like, yeah, it's average. Yeah, rough. And it's just hot. Like, anyway, the first couple of nights I was like, oh, what is this? Like, but we got to maybe 3 or 4 stages in. I think it was 9 or 10 stages, they were long. Is it on just roads or is it track? It's more track now. Like, there's single track now, but a lot of it is just outback roads. I remember we went, we started getting quite a way out, like remote. And this one stage, it started and finished at the same little town. And it's a weird race because there's like all these European, you head up to this Australian race, but there's like 2 Australians there, the rest are Europeans. Yeah, right. And the guys that have come over are really strong, like ex or current marathon, like world championships champions and that sort of stuff, like really strong guys. So anyway, this stage, it was so hot even at the start, and it was like 130k or something, and big climbs. And a couple of days before that, maybe I was in like, I think I was in second overall. And anyway, we head out on this day, and they all had really good support, which seemed crazy because obviously they weren't from here, but I'm from here, and I had good support as well. But they had people out on the road, like a road race, like Soigniers and stuff, handing bottles out. Yeah, different points, and I'm like, how are they sorting this out anyway? And it was just so hot, and I remember running out of water, and we get to this feed, and we come in with a bunch of 5 or 6, and there was this guy I was battling for second or third, and I just remember like his bottle and everything that he wanted to pick up was right there. And I get there, I'm out of water, and it's like hot. It's like 40 degrees, and we're proper outback, and I just can't find my water. And I'm in this group, right? And it's like, maybe it's still like 70k to the finish, and then if you're not in the group, like, it's shit. So anyway, they've all gotten their bottles, taken off, and then I'm searching around, I need the water. And I ended up riding by myself, like, to the rest of the day. And I remember rolling into this shitty little town, like the camp. I didn't even want to go back to the campsite because it was so hot and so shit. And we get back there, and I'm just like rolling into the town. It's just been an epic day. I'm pretty sure there was tears rolling down my face as I rolled into the finish. It was just one of those days where you just like, yeah, don't know why you were there. Or
you had heaps of time as well to think about it. Once they'd gone, you're like, oh, that's right. I'm out of water. I'm out here on my own. I could have just been there. Like, I could probably still see him in the distance.
And I just had this feeling of like, this is my bloody country, and here I am getting shafted. Like, you guys are getting all the it just had that feeling like they were kind of ganging up on me in my own country. So I mean, there's heaps though. Mountain biking happens all the time.
Brilliant, mate. Well, let's get about you. Last segment here. BWS, beer, wine or spirits. What's your poison of choice?
It's beer. I drink 4X.
4X? Goldies or Black Rats?
Goldies.
Well, I don't think they're called Black Rats. I think they're just Blackies, aren't they? I don't know. What do you call them? Bitters?
Yeah.
Well, the Goldies are the mid-strengths.
Yeah, they are.
You can drink about like 12 or 14 of them and then drive home.
You might be able to.
So the tradies tell me.
Yeah, that's right.
What about coffee? What coffee do you drink? What's your coffee routine? You start, with a early morning sort of espresso, 4 a.m., get up, get going, or you just get up a bit earlier and have the time, put a percolator on, watch it brew at 3:30 in the morning?
No, my routine used to be, we've got a kick-ass coffee machine, which I love, but it's since I've had our daughter, it's too noisy to fire up at 4:30. So it's grim, but I just have like a coffee bag before I go out training.
A coffee bag, like a tea bag, coffee bag. I haven't heard that one yet.
Bag.
I know about them, but I haven't heard anyone say that. Right.
Yeah, just one bag before we head out, and then I actually drink a lot of coffee. Like I don't order anything other than a triple shot. So I pump, probably too many of them. Like I'll have one at the cafe and then one when I get home with breakfast, and then a couple at work. Usually it's probably too much, to be honest.
What is it?
I like it strong. With
milk or just straight up? Give me a triple espresso.
With milk, but always a small. So it's just a small triple shot. Yeah.
Little magic. Yeah, nice.
Little magic, yeah. Yeah, it keeps me going. I'm generally a tired person, I think, so.
It sounds like it. Mate, what is your favourite cross-training exercise, if there is one?
I don't cross-train at all, to be honest. I used to swim well, but I don't do it anymore. I think my coach, I was sort of chatting about it with him, and he agreed with me, like, you don't have much time, so whatever time you have, just ride your bike. And I think that's good. And to be honest, my job is quite physical as well. We install a lot of solar panels. So, some days I'll be lifting like 50 solar panels onto a roof. So I feel like I'm getting, that all-round kind of strength, just that work. So, for me, it's just on the bike.
Perfect. What is your most rewatchable race? What's that one race out there that, you like, or, if someone hasn't seen it, what's that one race that is the most rewatchable race?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, that what I would say when I've watched some of the other podcasts, and I like a lot of the classics like Flanders and Roubaix. I often put them on while I'm on the ergo and watch them, but for sure, my friend Dan McConnell won a World Cup in 2013 in Germany, Albstadt. And it's hard to describe what a big deal that is, but same as I was saying about Pidcock, like having raced those races and been in that scene much more briefly than he has. But like I don't think he had a top 20 prior to this race, and definitely not in Europe. Like the Australian legs of the World Cup are often easier to get a better result because there's not that many Europeans, but in Europe it's like very hard to get a result. So he's gone from dabbling around the top 30 to taking a win.
So we're about to get things underway here. Oh, and Marco Fontana's keen. I think he jumped the gun there. And look at the pace of these riders as they go up this first climb, jostling for position. They want to get into the woods in first place so they don't get caught up on any of the descents, and you can see why. So slick. We've had a fair bit of rain now. Oh, and it's like dancing on ice. Julian Absalon making his move. New team for him this year, changed the Orbea. Started riding on the 29-inch wheel as well. And now Absalon makes his move. Julian Absalon, like I said, the most successful mountain bike rider of all time. But right now, Julian Absalon out front, setting the pace, reveling in these difficult conditions. Absolutely epic performance from him. And here's Daniel McConnell on screen now, on the Red Bull uphill. Slowly moving forwards. Oh, well, Absalon, it looks like his rear derailleur's come off. And it looks like Absalon not very happy about it, as you can understand. Wow, the back wheel has actually come clean out of that bicycle. But it's all about Mantiquan Gutierrez at the moment. 1 hour, 21 minutes have passed. And he looks comfortable out front. And in third place, Fabian Geiger. Kulhavi there in fourth. Flakinga, McConnell, your chasing group of 3 riders. And we're on the final lap. And here's that Tracing Chio now, battling for second spot, but can they close the gap to Mantiquan? So we're about the halfway point of the last lap, and Mantiquan really is coming under pressure. McConnell there in second place, got around Kulhavi. So Daniel McConnell, the Australian, having the ride of his life. Here he is, he's on the back wheel of Manacon. Well, that's unbelievable. The time he must have took out of him on that climb is incredible. And we're going to have a sprint finish, ladies and gentlemen. So Mandicon Guitars, the Spanish rider, hasn't got anything left. McConnell goes around the outside of him. I don't think he can respond. He's used every ounce of his energy around this course here today in these grueling conditions. And Daniel McConnell, the Australian, in a sprint for the line, takes his first ever World Cup win. Unbelievable ride for the Trek rider. Absolutely incredible. I don't think even he expected that. What a performance. Breathtaking ride. Breathtaking.
It's ridiculous. I was hoping for a top 20. That would have been my best result. And podium's ridiculous. And to come away with a win, I'm just speechless. It's unbelievable.
I think it's the way, because I've watched this race too, I think it's the way he won it as well, because it sounds like too, the way you're setting it up, or even the way I sort of saw it happening, I'm like, oh, maybe it's, it's a lucky chance. There was one bit of luck for him. Julian Absalon, his chain sort of gets buggered. He was way out in front, whether he could have hung on or not. But the Spanish, what's his name? Mantecon, yeah. Yeah, Mantecon. He was also way out. And then all of a sudden, at one lap to go, Dan's 30 seconds down in 6th place. And like you said, he's sort of just hoping to hang there for top 10. He's already happy with that result. It was an epic day. It's so wet. There's guys crashing everywhere. It just was epic. We say that word so much, but this was epic. And he only catches him, the Spanish dude, at the bottom of the last ascent.
Yeah, it's maybe 500 or 400 metres to go. And the thing is, like, obviously Dan's done a lot of European racing, but like to outride them in those conditions that we don't have here, again, it's just unbelievable. Like, and he just gets to the finishing straight and just motors straight past Mantecon and takes the win. It's just like, it's hard to describe what level that is. Like, at the front of those races, you're talking about like some of the fittest humans, on the planet, like and to beat them in their own like muddy conditions, like just a proper, It's
an epic race. I've got to go and check that one out. I'll put it up in the show notes. Mate, what's in your headphones? Are you a headphone guy when you head out in those early mornings sometimes when you go out riding?
Yeah, I am. I don't ride by myself that often. But if I do, it's usually, I want a bit of R&B.
What, like 90s R&B or new stuff?
Old stuff, but also like the weekend, the weekend.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, nice. Best thing, mate, for you about riding a bike, what's that one thing that you really just love, that's kept you going all these years and actually on those early mornings?
I think it must. I don't know that it is for sure, but there's something subconsciously that I think we enjoy the pain, right? Or like the suffering, I guess, and then reward. So as you're heading out, you're like kind of anticipating a level of suffering and maybe not looking forward to it as much. But once you're done, you're like, gee, I'm glad I went and suffered this morning. So I think it must be that I keep wanting to do it.
It's just that amazing feeling, isn't it? It sets you up for the whole day. You couldn't be bothered. You get up, you do it, and you just know that feeling in the back of your mind, it's going to be so good when I get this done and start the day.
Yeah, you could talk to my wife, the guys I work with. They'll tell you if I haven't ridden in the morning, they'll know.
Yeah. Like, oh, God, mate, just go out and do a ride and then come back to work. You're so annoying.
Yeah.
Well, Trekky, mate, thanks for coming on the pod. It's been great talking to you, and you better get back into it. Full day of work ahead.
It's been a pleasure and an honour, and it's great to see what you're doing with the pod.
Cheers, mate. Well, how much did you love listening to Brendan talk about his story and talk about Talking Luft? He's a great guy and a really, really lovely fellow. He was great to talk to on the podcast, but I love speaking to him when I'm out on the bike about mountain biking these days, but previously about road stuff. Very, very down to earth. And like I said at the podcast, the pinnacle of what we love about cycling. This is a guy who squeezes it in, but it gives his life such a whole-rounded sort of feel about it. He's working, he's got the family, but he makes sure riding is a big part of his life too. That was Talking Luft this week, and of course, like I said, that doesn't happen with our major sponsor, Rapha. Those guys are really helping these episodes come alive this year, and I'm really thankful for that too. I love being associated with the company, and I think you guys know that already. Of course, Lara behind the scenes and Will Jones, who puts these episodes together. Next week, I've got a really good guest, an icon from London, Alec Briggs. He started his own team called Techers. I'm not going to say too much more about that. This is a fantastic story. He'll be next week on the podcast, so hang in for that, guys. Once again, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. The music in this episode was composed by Pete Shelley. Cheers, mate.